All.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, this is your Sergeant Alarm, and I call the meeting of Rotary Club Chandigarh Midtown 2257 to order and hand over the meeting to the president of the club, Radiant Sanjay Bhatia. Over to you, Sanjay ji.
She's sharing the screen. The newcomer.
Good evening, and thank you, Sergeant Arms Past President R.K. Luther. A special welcome to our guest speaker for this evening, Padma Shri, Professor Dr. Yogesh Chawla ji. And I do see guests. I'm sorry if I miss out anyone. I see Dr. Manu here, Reva Rishi, Harinder Arora, and Shrinal. And good evening and welcome to all our members and aunts who have joined today.
Good gathering.
Yeah, it's always nice to have the 10-15 minute fellowship prior and also after the meet to hear so much of cheerfulness. And I know a few members are actually joining from outside of Chandigarh on some occasions. For example, Colonel Kapoor sometimes is joining from his hill station abode. Harinderjit ma'am is joining sometimes from Noida, sometimes from Chandigarh. But it's nice that members can take time out and get together this Friday evening. December for Rotary is Disease Prevention and Treatment Month. We have already had 2 meetings earlier, and we've done some projects on the same lines. When we talk of disease, and during these COVID times, all of you, I hope, are reading much more than normal times, getting time to read. But I wanted to talk about life expectancy, which has been increasing over the last, say, 100 years, which is a good thing. And it has been increasing across age groups. Child mortality was a serious concern 100 years ago. And it has also been improving in terms of the longevity of the senior citizens. Medical research definitely has a lot to contribute, and obviously nutrition also plays a role. And I say this in context of today's meeting, and also that I hope all stay safe and keep good health in these difficult times. So with this, I would like to invite first our past president, past President Ashok Puri, for the invocation for this evening. Shri, you have to unmute, I think.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Chief guest of the evening, Dr. Chawla, President Sanjay Bhatia, Secretary Suchi Thakur, fellow Rotarians and Rotarians, and good evening. Sharing with all of you few thoughts and few lines on our mind. Gautama Buddha says, इस सृष्टि में ऐसी कोई संपत्ति नहीं है जो मन की शांति से बड़ी है। मन को ठहराने की तकनीक तो आपके श्वासों में छिपी है। श्वासों को ठहराइए, मन भी ठहर जाएगा। मन ठहरेगा तो भीतर सुख मिलेगा। दिल को साफ रखो, सबको माफ करो, सब खुश रहो, ये भाव रखो। मानवता की सेवा करना सबसे अच्छा कर्म है। मन के बारे में माफ करना और कुछ बातों को भूलना सीखें। पहचान पाने की लालसा मत रखें। किसी के काम में तब तक दखल ना दें जब तक पूछा ना जाए। खुद को माहौल में ढालने की चेष्टा करें। उतना ही काम हाथ में लें जितना करने की क्षमता है। ईर्ष्या की भावना से बचें और दूसरों के अच्छे कामों की प्रशंसा करें। दिमाग को खाली रहने दें, अपने आप को व्यस्त रखें। जो कभी बदल नहीं सकता उसे सहना सीखें। ऐसा कोई काम ना करें जिसके लिए बाद में पछतावा हो। दिन भर किए कामों का विश्लेषण करें। रोजाना ध्यान, मेडिटेशन, प्राणायाम करें, क्योंकि आजकल इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर है ये कोविड टाइम में, और पॉजिटिव थॉट के साथ अपना जीवन जिए। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Mr. Ashok Puri ji. Normally, as soon as the meeting is called to order, I have to call for the invocation immediately. Today, I decided to just reverse a bit because I was getting message from a few members that they were joining in the next 4-5 minutes, and I recollect when past President Ashok Puri had his tenure as president during 2018-19. We had wonderful messages from you, which were all part of it's an invocation, and which is why I didn't want the members who were joining a little late to miss this. So thank you so much, Pastor Ashok Puri. I would now like to call Professor Dr. I.S. Dua to kindly take this meeting forward and introduce our guest speaker for this evening.
Good evening, everybody. This is Professor Dua. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
That's fine. Chief guest for today's function, Professor Yogesh Chawla, President Sanjay, Secretary Shri, and all my dear Rotarians and Rotarians. Today is a very memorable day when we have with us Professor Yogesh Chawla, former Director PGI. And he is going to speak on such a beautiful topic which is most relevant in this time. Before I start his introduction, I would like to take 1 or 2 minutes to talk about his topic. That is, he is going to talk on hepatitis C from discovery to Nobel. Let me introduce the topic Nobel amongst my dear Rotarians, that Nobel is something which is the most prestigious, one of the 6 awards given on 10th of December every year. These are announced in the first week of October to coincide with the birth month of Alfred Noble, and he died on 10th of December 1896. In his will, that was 2-page will, he writes a beautiful thing. He says that, let me show you this 1 or 2 slides. This is Alfred Noble, who was born in 1833 on 21st of October and breathed his last on 10th of December 96. In his 2-page will, he starts with the words that science is a way of thinking much more than it's a body of knowledge. And
Sir, we can't see the slide. No, sir. Have you shared the screen?
Yes, I'm sharing the screen.
Sir, I can't see.
8 minutes.
Ali, so you have been given access. Sorry for interruption, though.
Okay. 8 minutes. Can you see?
No, sir.
I should have done it.
Sir, are you sharing the screen? Yes, now. Now, Dua, sir, it's now starting.
But I can't see now, no?
We can see your desktop.
Okay, let me see my desktop also. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, can you see now?
Yes, sir, now.
Yeah, this is Alfred Noble, born in 1833 and who breathed his last in 96. 63-year-old man dying on 10th of December. And in his 2-page will, he defines science by saying that science is a way of thinking much more than it's a body of knowledge. And the prime purpose of science is not to change the universe, but to get the answers of some of the queries about ourselves and to make it as a boon for the society. This is the will written in 1896, and according to his will, 5 Nobel Prizes were started from 1901 onwards. The 6th Nobel Prize was added in 1969 when this economics Nobel Prize was added, was donated by Bank of Sweden. This function takes place in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. This particular Nobel Prize function on 10th of December was very unusual, because no Nobel laureate was called to Stockholm, but all these prizes, all these mementos were this particular memento. These were given in Stockholm, to their residences, and only the lighting part was done in Stockholm. And the presidents of Nobel Form put this slide throughout the Stockholm, throughout the stone, that the Nobel Prize shows humanity's ability to constantly find solution to the difficult challenges we face. This is the Stockholm Yard, and this is in relation to COVID times, that the Nobel Prize shows humanity's ability to constantly find solution to the difficult challenges we face. And it is in this context that Nobel Prizes were not abundant, only abundant when Spanish flu was there in 1918, but this year the science showed the way to have it, the function virtually, as we are having the virtual Rotary Club one of these days for the last 6 months. This is how this particular item, this particular backdrop, that for 118 years, the Nobel Prizes have been going. It was in 1976, 1975, when the Nobel Prize in vaccine, this hepatitis B vaccine was given, when hepatitis C was discovered also. In 76, it was discovered. And it was found that hepatitis is by virtue of the inflammation of the liver is because of many reasons. One of them may be the infection. And the infection base is a virus which was called as the B, virus B, hepatitis B. But after giving so many control and vaccine also, it was not getting control, and it was found by today's Nobel laureates, about whom Professor Yogesh Chawla will be talking. That is, that how this was discovered and how this particular virus discovery was given Nobel Prize in 2020. And today we have nobody less than Professor Chawla, who has worked all his life on this particular ailment for the last now 50 years. You see, today you have the chief guest, this gentleman, Professor Yogesh Chawla. Professor Yogesh Chawla was born in 1952 in Jabalpur and had his MBBS and MD internal medicine from Jabalpur University. He further pursued his DM in gastroenterology from AIIMS, New Delhi, and was bestowed with FAMS honor, Padma Shri, by the Honorable President of India in the year 2015. He also received the most coveted Dr. B.C. Roy Medical Council of India Silver Jubilee Research Award. He was further honored with 10 particular orations award, like Dr. P.N. Chutani, Madana Gopalan, AstraZeneca Oration Awards. Professor Chawla was the president of Indian National Association for the Study of Liver in the year 2006 to 2009 onward. He was the Governor, American College of Gastroenterology, Indian region. Professor Chawla is a member of CRI Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. He is the chairman of Academic Committee, JIPMER, member Kalinga Institute of Medical Institute, Bhubaneswar. His special interests are hepatitis B and C, cirrhosis, liver and liver cancer, and he has published more than 475 original publications which are peer-reviewed. Ladies and gentlemen, here on 18th December, Rotary meeting, that is the penultimate meeting before the new year, because the new year starts after next Friday to next Friday. We have Professor Chawla, who developed expertise in portal hypertension, including portal venous obstruction, cirrhosis, hepatitis B and C, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Treatment as head of the Department of Hepatology at PGI from 1995 to 2001. He developed first, he developed, एक second, sorry. Professor Chawla was the director of PGI Chandigarh from 2011 to 2016, catering to a staff of almost 10,000 with 10,000 patients every day in the most prestigious in a 2,000 bedded hospital, which is the pride of our city beautiful, that is Chandigarh. We welcome Professor Chawla, you with utmost regards and with our bestowed feelings that you are amongst us today, the 18th of December, 2020, on this topic. Thank you very much. Over to Professor Chawla, please.
Sir, thank you very much for the introduction. You've been extremely kind, but when you asked me to speak on this topic, I was delighted because hepatitis C is something that we have worked for a very long time in PGI. How do I go? How do I make this screen full?
It's coming, sir.
It's coming? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Dua has given us a brief about the Nobel Prize. And as he said, this was started by Alfred Noble, who was a Swedish chemist, engineer, industrialist, all in one. And to his credit, he had invented the dynamite. He had about 355 inventions. He purchased Bofors, about which we all know, and iron and steel mills. And Bofors has been a major armament manufacturer. He invented ballistite, which is responsible for the smokeless military explosives. And as Dr. Dua said, he died at the age of 63 years on 10th of December, 1886, and he executed a will for coming up
1896, sir.
1896 for the most prestigious award, which would be of greatest benefit to the mankind. Just a sec, just a sec.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, in 1901, there were 5 prizes established. In 1968, the prize for economy was brought out. So they give a gold medal, a diploma, and there's a monetary award, which is about 8.33 crores. It is distributed amongst the people who get the award. It's not given posthumously. 950 people have been awarded from 27 countries. And 42 Nobel laureates have been given more than once the Nobel Laureate Prize. So this is organized by a Nobel Foundation, which was made in 1900. And this, they developed a very solid funding base. It consists of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, Karolinski Institute, Swedish Academy, and Norwegian Nobel Committee. And they made guidelines. Usually in September, they send about 3,000 nominations. And by 31st of January, prominent academicians are chosen. And about 300 of them are potential names for the award. You can have the award in 2 separate fields, but maximum 3 can be given in a particular field. Earlier on, they used to give the Nobel Prize for recent discoveries, and now they give discoveries which have stood in time. Award ceremony is on 10th of December, and Dr. Dua hasn't mentioned that he has been to these award ceremonies a number of times. None of us have been to these. So he has the credit, and he's been lucky going there and have the invitation to be at the award ceremony. So they gave a citation for work, and the medal initially was 23 carats gold, but now it is 18 carats gold, and it is 24 carat gold plated. The first Nobel Prize was given in 1901. No awards were given, as he said, in the Spanish flu year, and when there was World War from 1940 to 42. The youngest person who's got the award is Malala from Pakistan for peace, and the oldest person has been Gutenberg for chemistry, and he was 97 years old. There have been few refusals. Nobel Prize in Literature in October 1960s, and he didn't want it to be institutionalized. The maximum number of Nobel Prizes have gone to US, followed by UK, 132, Germany, Sweden, and in the Asian region, India has the credit of having 11 Nobel Prizes, and China 8, Bangladesh 2, and Pakistan 2. Multiple times, Marie Curie has got the award in physics and chemistry, and Sanger in chemistry in 1958 and 1980. Not only this, some married couples also have got the award, and one of them is Abhijit Banerjee. You are all familiar. He got it last year with his wife Esther Duflo, and Marie Curie and Pierre Curie in 1903. And these are the Indians who got the awards. So this year, on 5th of October, the 2020, sorry, it's not 2010, these 3 gentlemen, Harvey Alter, Michael Hewton, and Charles Rice, they were awarded Hepatitis C Nobel Prize. And why they have been given? Because they recognized a breakthrough which not only transformed virology, that is the speciality of viruses, but also immunology, and it improved the understanding of liver disease biology. Also revolutionized the clinical care of millions of patients by implementing diagnostic tests. And finally, there was a development of treatment which now cures hepatitis C and prevents liver cancer, and has brought down the chances of having a liver transplantation significantly down. So I'll talk of Charles Rice first. He's been the youngest. He's a virologist, did his PhD from California Institute of Technology. He's had about 232 publications. And when he got the information that he's one of the recipients for the award, mind you, each one of these 3 got a phone call in the morning at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and they were actually surprised. So what Charles Rice had to say is, it took us months and months of toil to sequence a single viral genome. That means the virus has a genome which multiplies, produces proteins, and that is how this virus replicates. And now people have been able to identify the genome in a matter of hours. But look at these people, they've been working for a number of years. So he said, so I think it has taught us a lot of things about science in general. And if there is a really pressing problem, we mobilize people all around the world to work on these problems. And people would love to have a cure in a week or a vaccine in a week, as we are experiencing in the COVID times. So he also said that it's really sort of changing the way science is done to make way more for a community effort rather than something that many years ago might have taken a few labs in isolation and might have taken very, very long, which it has done in this particular case. So he says that I'm optimistic that with the success of hepatitis C, there would also be a success of handling the current coronavirus. Why I mentioned him first is that we've had a PGI hepatology connection with the department. He helped our PhD student, Dr. Jyotsna, way back in 1995 for sending us some genomic samples, and she was working on the method by which hepatitis C virus enters into the liver cells. Harvey Alter is the oldest, born in New York. He's a physician scientist, doesn't have as many publications as Charles Rice, but he worked at the National Institute of Health, and he got a phone call at 4:45 a.m. He was a little surprised, and he says that it's something you don't think until it happens. That also in a COVID year where everything has turned upside down. So the research hypothesis was what caused post-transfusion hepatitis. And it's a 50-year story with collaborations. And he has mentioned Professor Purcell, who was there. NIH, the National Institute of Health, allowed him to go his way, which ultimately paid off. And now effective drugs are available. Post-transfusion hepatitis is not happening anymore now. And the third person is Michael Hewton. He is a molecular biologist. He was born in 1949, and he's been working at the University of Alberta, but was a part of Chiron Corporation, where hepatitis C tests were discovered. And so he said that he heard the news at 3 a.m. He tried to get back to sleep. In the end, he gave up. So cloning of hepatitis C took a frustratingly long time. So it involved a lot of lakhs and lakhs of people every year. So it was a difficult task trying to discover hepatitis C. They didn't have the tools. And with constant effort, they ultimately came out with a blood test which diagnosed hepatitis C. So how has all this happened? You know, patients were being operated, especially cardiac surgery, where a lot of blood transfusions had to be given. So they started finding out that people developed jaundice after the surgery and blood transfusions were given. And this was way back in 1960. So they found that the liver enzymes were odd, they were contagious, and when they followed up these patients, they developed chronic hepatitis. And this happened mainly after open heart surgery. You may be familiar that a few of our people also have been affected with hepatitis C. So this was a condition known as post-transfusion hepatitis, and hepatitis B, initially called as Australia antigen, was discovered by Bloomberg in 1965, and he was given the Nobel Prize for hepatitis B. They also found that the post-transfusion hepatitis occurred in 51% of the cases when the blood was given from a paid donor, whereas a voluntary donor, the transfusion hepatitis was seen in just about 7%. So after the discovery of hepatitis B, they said that donor screening is very important, and the incidence of post-transfusion hepatitis or jaundice after giving blood transfusions came down from 30% to 9%. So what Alter found that in spite of hepatitis B being tested for all patients with blood transfusions, there was still a group of patients who developed jaundice. And this, he called it as post-transfusion hepatitis, or non-A, non-B, because hepatitis A is transmitted through the oral route by drinking bad water or food that has not been properly cooked. This was also discovered during the 1960s. So this group of patients following transfusion still developed hepatitis, and he said that this is possibly non-A, non-B hepatitis. And when he followed up these patients, he found that over 5 years, some of them developed cirrhosis liver. And cirrhosis liver is when the liver becomes very hard and it's not able to function properly. We know cirrhosis of liver mainly because of alcohol, which is very common in Punjab. But there are other causes like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and now the growing problem is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So just to tell you that while they were working on this, ultimately in 1989, they could identify this virus because the structure they could find out. And they found that this virus used to replicate very fast. 10 raised to the power of 11 or 10 raised to the power of 12, which means that more than crores and crores of these viruses, once they get into the body, in the liver, they replicate, multiply, and number of these viruses are thrown into the circulation. Because they replicate very fast, some amount of variation tends to occur. And this is what you must have read in the newspapers, that a variant of coronavirus has been found in UK. Coronavirus doesn't multiply as fast as or as much as hepatitis C virus. But these viruses always tend to have variations. And one of the problems that they are discussing in UK is the variant coronavirus, whether it would work with the vaccine that is likely to come or not, is a big question mark, and they don't know. So in 1989, Michael Hewton identified hepatitis C, and these guys came out with a test which was very effective in picking up patients or the blood transfusions which were given to them. So this basically is an RNA virus. There are two types of viruses. Hepatitis B is a DNA virus. Hepatitis C is a RNA virus. So it's a very unstable virus when it is outside. Hepatitis B is a DNA virus, is a very stable virus, and it remains in the environment for very long. So this is the difference between the two. And there are about 8 genotypes or variants of hepatitis C. And because of these variations, vaccination development has not been a success. So imagine right from 1989 to 2020, that is 31 years, they've been working on a vaccine and they've not been able to find one because the virus mutates, it keeps on changing its structure, and that is why the virus has not been successful. So these are the individual contributions which each one of them had. Harvey Alter found out that there is a non-A, non-B hepatitis after transfusions and after major surgeries. Then Michael Hewton came out with the diagnostic test for hepatitis C now, which is mandatory all over the country to be done whenever a blood transfusion is given and even prior to surgeries. And Charles Rice told us about the structure of hepatitis C, what it consists. Just in brief about hepatitis C, the problem with hepatitis C is it's a silent killer. It doesn't produce any symptoms. Like other viruses, it tends to produce jaundice, but hepatitis C hardly produces jaundice. And it produces acute and chronic infection. Usually 30% of these cases clear in about 6 months without treatment, but 70% of them have chronic infection. And worldwide, the prevalence is about 1.5 to 2.3%, and now it is 0.9 to 1.5%. Imagine out of 100 people who are walking on the road, one of them would be hepatitis C positive. So you can well imagine how many people in India would be hepatitis C positive. And this is usually transmitted through injecting drugs, very common in individuals who are drug addicts. Whenever the medical instruments or equipments, they are not sterilized properly, transfusion of unscreened blood and blood products, sexual practices, tattooing, and barbers. So once one gets infected with hepatitis C, about 15 to 55% of them over a period of 16 to 20 years develop cirrhosis, and 1/4 of them develop liver cancer over a period of 20 to 30 years. And if someone with hepatitis C has diabetes, alcohol, obesity, has associated hepatitis B and HIV infection, and is on immunosuppressants, he is likely to develop this disease much faster. So in clinical practice, we tend to get these patients when they come to us with cirrhosis. That's why we call it as a silent killer. And these patients come to us at the end stage of liver disease when there is blood vomiting and development of fluid in the abdomen. And these people have very short survival. About 50% of them just survive for 5 years. And that is why these group of patients have to be given a liver transplantation. This disease also tends to precipitate diabetes, thyroiditis, renal disease, and lymphoma and skin diseases. Now, this virus having been discovered way back in 1990, we used to treat these patients by giving interferon, which used to have a lot of side effects, had to be given for 6 months as an injection, and only 6% of these patients had loss of the virus. And then the protocols showed that if you give it for 1 year, 16% tend to have relief. Then in 1998, a new drug came out, that is ribavirin, which improved the response when it was given with interferon, 42%. In 2001, 50 drugs which were available, but only 70% effective and a lot of side effects. And fortunately, about 4 years ago, we had drugs known as directly acting antivirals, which cures the virus totally. So you can imagine that from a time when most of these patients landed up into cirrhosis, there has now come a time when you can cure this disease 100%. Unfortunately, hepatitis B, we still cannot cure, and we can only suppress the virus. So what has the new drugs impacted on the complications? They have reversed cirrhosis. Patients who've been put for the liver transplant have become delisted because they have improved. The morbidity and mortality and quality of life has also improved significantly. And as I said, vaccine has been a big challenge, and we have still far to go as far as vaccine is concerned. We possibly don't need a vaccine anymore now, because anyone who's hepatitis C positive, one can give these drugs and expect 100% effectivity. So what does the WHO say? In 2015, so just excuse me for a minute, the battery is going, so I'll just put on the charger. sorry, I'm safe now. So the WHO in 2015 estimated that there are about 251 million hepatitis B cases and 71 million hepatitis C in the world, and very significant number of deaths every year. And 40% of hepatitis C has been reported in 4 countries like China, Pakistan, India, and Egypt, which is a very sizable proportion. And this is a graph which shows that it's commonest in China, followed by Pakistan, India, Egypt, etc. In India, you would see that the prevalence is highest in the red zones, and that is Punjab and the Northeast. The prevalence is about 1%, and in some areas, some villages in Punjab, it is even higher. So it's a very, very big problem in Punjab and in the Northeast. We don't know what is the reason why it happens, because drug addicts are there everywhere. Possibly they may be contributing a little bit in Punjab, but Northeast also there are drug addicts, and that also could be responsible. So when we looked at the different groups of individuals, the community, in thousands of people in the community, the prevalence of hepatitis C was 0.85. And when you pick up blood donors, it's about 0.4. But those who are given blood transfusions like hemodialysis, intravenous drug abusers, multi-transfused thalassemics, so these people have a higher prevalence of hepatitis C. And in India, blood banks have been advised to have a mandatory hepatitis C testing to bring down the prevalence. So this is what the study from Punjab shows, that hepatitis C is seen in about 3.6% of individuals. That means out of 100, 3 to 4 people would be hepatitis C positive. And in Moga, 9 out of 100 people would be positive. What is the reason? We don't know. But it's more prevalent in males, more common in the rural area, and possibly there is reuse of syringes, unnecessary surgery, dental extraction, and increased epidemic of injection drug abusers. And this is the geographical distribution in Punjab, where the ones in brown show a very high prevalence, like Sangrur, Mansa, Moga, and Moktsar. So with hepatitis B and C being a problem, WHO came out with a document in 2015 that we have to eliminate hepatitis C and hepatitis B by the year 2030. So there have been some efforts, and the government has been able to provide affordable, high quality diagnostics. They have also made free therapy available for hepatitis C and hepatitis B all over the country. Punjab should be given the credit that almost 4 years ago in 2016 at PGI, we had started surveillance of hepatitis C in Punjab, and free drug was given by the previous government, which has now been continued. And in 2018, the country, the National Health Ministry made it mandatory that these patients should be given free treatment. So how can one prevent these dangerous viruses? One should screen the blood well, take injections only if it is required. Unnecessary parenteral medication should not be done, and proper waste management should be done. And how can you be helping in getting this virus eliminated? People have started, the country has started micro-elimination. The areas where hepatitis C is very prevalent, especially injectable drug abusers, prison settings, anyone who reports to the blood bank or on testing is found to be hepatitis B and C. Each one of them is given a free treatment, and after, of course, they go to a liver unit or a government hospital. And about 45 countries are working hard on getting rid of hepatitis. Maybe if they're not able to achieve the target of 2030, but certainly another 5 years, hepatitis B and C is likely to get eliminated. In PGI, we had started what is termed as a tele-mentoring project. About 22 districts and their hospitals, the chief medical officers, they were trained how to give hepatitis C therapy. Even the primary care providers and nurses were taught how to do this. And through the telephonic messages, we were able to treat almost 80,000 people in Punjab, with PGI being the nodal center. So 80,000 individuals have been treated, and we could achieve a cure in 91 to 92% of individuals. So elimination is not a simple task, because a lot of people don't come forward, they are scared, and not everyone would come to you for follow-up. So friends, in the end, I would say that the take-home message for the talk today is what started as a non-A, non-B hepatitis or a post-transfusion hepatitis era way back in 1960s now has come to an end. So this is end of the beginning and beginning of the end. They could identify, these three individuals, a problem that was non-A, non-B hepatitis. And with a lot of collaborations, passion, persistence, they could ultimately come to a logical conclusion. And finally, there was a success story. And the timing of the award was such that it gave a lot of encouragement for people who are working on the control of COVID-19. So recently, an editorial in a very famous liver journal in December 2020 said that each individual had a lot of a character in himself. Harvey Alter had wonderful skills and humor. Michael Hewton had a vision for the future and had a lot of enthusiasm. And Charles Rice, the youngest, he had a brilliant vision, and he was an extremely humble individual. So friends, I would end here. I'll be happy to take questions. And this has been a success story of hepatitis C. In PGI, in the OPD, we used to get about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, about 30 cases every OPD. That means twice in a week, we used to have a liver clinic. And now we hardly get these hepatitis C patients. So there's a dramatic change. A lot of these patients are also getting treated peripherally. So that has made a difference. But certainly this virus is on the decline. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to talk to you on this important subject.
Very nice. Excellent. Can we have some question, please?
Dua sir, Dr. Vora wanted to
Ask.
ask something.
Yes.
Dr. Vora, kindly unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but I only want to thank you, Dr. Yogesh Chawla, sir.
Yogesh.
About 6 years ago, I had very close association with you with regard to treatment of my son-in-law. When Rotarian Teji Jor introduced me to you.
Right.
I hope you remember that, sir.
Yes, yes.
And you had gone out of the way to help us. And in you, I saw a very professional, very humble, very kind doctor. In spite of being busy with your routine as director of PGI, I saw you taking personal care with your patients, including my son-in-law. So this is what I want to inform everybody about your greatness. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We have Subhash Bhatt, sir. He intends to ask a question. Subhash, sir, kindly unmute yourself and please ask the question.
Sir, I have a personal question.
Yes, sir.
I was having a stressful time in the early part of this lockdown. So means I was already getting a treatment for my stomach ailment. I was on Etiopred and Librex alternately for about approximately 2 years.
Right.
So means now I have been diagnosed as a drug-induced non-alcoholic fatty liver for the last 6 months, and I have been lot of troubles along with that of the gallbladder sludge also.
Right.
Do I need to undergo means any hepatitis B, C, or A test because I have no transfusion history?
No, if somebody has diagnosed you as non-alcoholic steatohepatitis,
On the
he
basis
must
of ultrasound.
ultrasound.
Yes,
But the liver functions, are they normal or abnormal?
they are quite within the normal range, sir.
Within the normal range. So ideally, one should do a hepatitis B and C in such individuals. I don't expect that to be positive.
Please.
So non-alcoholic steatohepatitis could be either fatty liver with normal liver functions or with abnormal liver functions. Those with abnormal liver functions need to be treated. Those with a fatty liver and normal liver functions need to reduce their weight and have dietary
I
precautions.
have in this period already lost about 9 kg of weight, sir.
Okay, that's very good. Good.
Even earlier I was in an ideal range.
No, because for some reason the genes in Indians is more prone to have a fatty liver, and for unknown reason we have a lot of visceral fat. Visceral fat तोंद निकली होती है सबकी. So we are not exercising adequately, at the same time we are not eating properly as
Now
well.
the immediate problems which I have is that I have a pain is just below my ribs.
Yeah.
And secondly, there is a lot of burping and flatulence.
I think this is something very personal with you, and we could discuss it rather than in a forum.
Sir.
This is treatable. This is not a problem.
So means that I should undergo the test for B and A and hepatitis.
I think ideally you should get it done. Look for diabetes, look for abnormal cholesterol and triglycerides.
I was earlier diagnosed diabetes 2.
So
and
that is the
metformin for about
that is the reason for your fatty liver. Why does fatty liver happen? It's because of diabetes, obesity, and abnormal lipids.
But my HbA1c always was below 6.
But you said you had diabetes.
Yes, this is what the doctor have been telling me in spite of my this range.
Now it is under control. This fatty liver would disappear gradually.
Mr. Chawla.
आप exercise करिएगा और diet पे अपना ध्यान रखें.
That I am doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Subhash sir. Thank you, Professor Yogesh. We have another question from past President Ajit Gulati sir. Ajit sir, please unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Yes, sir.
I think there's his video seems to be stuck. Ajit sir?
Shuchi, in the meanwhile, I can...
Yes. Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
sir. Doctor, you were talking about the problem of hepatitis B in Punjab. In Punjab, we have a pattern of crop of wheat and rice, which is bringing down the water table drastically every year.
Right.
Don't you think the water is the reason for one of the reasons for hepatitis B being major in Punjab?
No. Hepatitis B and C is only transmitted through injections, blood transfusions, or blood products. Wherever there is a contact with blood, hepatitis B and C happens. So a fall in water level in Punjab is not possibly the reason.
Sir, I have a small query.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Dua, sir.
So Yogesh.
Yes, sir.
Cirrhosis then sets in liver cancer. is the underlying cause is the virus or the metabolic profile changing and making the mitosis uncontrollable?
Both, because both hepatitis B and C are cancerous viruses. They ultimately tend to produce cancer. But what also happens, you're absolutely right, in patients with cirrhosis, there is a regenerative activity. And because of this regenerative activity, the DNA of the cells tends to get altered.
Okay.
And this is the group of patients in whom liver cancer tends to occur.
And sir, the polymerase is known from 60s, 50s, like this RNA polymerase or proteolytic.
Right.
Were they not tried in early and they are cheap? They are cheap than the. Then were they not tried earlier rather than to try other methods?
As I said, these polymerases and protease inhibitors, they were available only in 2011 for hepatitis C, and they had a lot of side effects. It was only in 2015 that the directly acting antiviral were available. These are also inhibitors of polymerase and protease, but the beauty is they don't have any side effects.
Thank you.
They are given orally, no side effects, and 100% cure.
And is there any genetic influence also?
There may be some genetic influence.
Hey, genetic with old age, automatically the immune system goes down.
Yes.
Genetic.
As far as liver is concerned, there could be a genetic basis also to it. But something very interesting is, as I showed you, in the Indian Punjab, hepatitis C is very common. Even in Pakistan, Punjab, it's very common. It's more common there in that Punjab. I don't know what is the reason. So there could be some amount of genes which are not able to eliminate the virus from the body.
Okay. Yes. And
can I make a comment, please?
Yes, please.
Dr. Balram Gupta ji, good seeing you.
Dr. Sir, what a pleasure. A meaningful talk from you.
Lovely, sir.
You know, we also make use of Alfred Nobel for the judges in a different context. If you permit me, I would like to share that.
Sure.
One day, Alfred Nobel was reading the morning newspaper.
Yeah.
And he found his name in the obituary column.
Right.
And what was written was, King of Dynamite, Merchant of Death. Now, what had happened was there was a mistake. His elder brother had expired, and the obituary was meant for him, but by mistake, it was taken for Alfred Nobel, and that's how he was described in that particular context.
That's right.
Now, when he read this, he felt so depressed. He felt so depressed, and in that particular process, within a week, he came out with this particular idea: why not create a trust, a foundation for the Nobel Prize as such? And it is this positivity of his mind that we are now having the fragrance of what that particular person in that particular time could create the Nobel Award.
Yes.
Serving the human community globally, for that matter.
That's right.
And I link it up when we train the judges that a judge must have a positivity of mind. Situations come with
I think we lost Balram. The internet just went. Balram sir's internet. The glitches, the technical glitches, Dua sir.
Yeah.
We just lost Balram. So he was in the middle of his sentence.
There is no Zoom talk which is without any glitch.
As you said. Right.
So let's have the vote of thanks then from Professor. Dr. Bora.
Right. Dua sir, Ravinder Jain sir wanted to say a few words and then we can go to vote of thanks if you may permit. Ravinder Jain sir, please unmute yourself and then we can go to vote of thanks by Bora sir.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Saab. I'm Ravinder Jain. I'm really thankful to Dr. Saab. मेरा एक सर्जरी होने वाली थी तो मैं डॉक्टर साहब के पास गया तो मैं कहा सर मैं पीजीआई में नहीं करवाना चाहता तो उन्होंने कहा रविंदर मैं तेरे को बाहर भेजना नहीं चाहता आपको यही करवाऊंगा एंड आई एम रियली थैंकफुल अगर मैं कहीं बाहर जाता तो मैं अब आपके सामने ना होता ये डॉक्टर साहब की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ आई एम रियली थैंकफुल
Thank you very much, sir.
That's the best vote of thanks.
Our president has a question. President sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Shuchi. Dr. Sir, we really had a very nice interaction and session with you. I just have two quick small queries. One is about the geographic spread, the Northeast and Punjab, when you say. On the other hand, when you also talked about China, Pakistan, and Egypt. So even a study of the other countries doesn't give any indication. I mean, is the cause really unknown even in those countries? And can I put my second query also quickly so we can take both together?
Yes.
Also, since we were talking of the Nobel Prize this year, in your opinion, what has helped most? All this research, is it in the detection, is it in the prevention, or is it in the treatment stage?
See, I'll respond to your last query. In fact, it is for all the three: prevention, detection, and treatment. See, we know what causes hepatitis C. So people have made it mandatory that you have to test. So once you test and anyone turns positive, you treat the individual. So it's a combination of all these three. Why it is very prevalent in China, Pakistan, I think a lot of quacks are there. In Pakistan, in India, lots of quacks are there. People use needles. That is one solid explanation. And same is true in China. So reuse, acupunctures, tattoos, these are all responsible for hepatitis C, and barbers. Initially, to ustra bhi nahi badalte the. Now, at least they are more aware after HIV. They remove the blade. So all these things have contributed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll now invite our past president, Dr. Bora, for the vote of thanks to Dr. Chawla.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
sir. It was a very educative and wonderful talk given by Dr. Yogesh Chawla. He is not new to our club. Sir, you have been earlier also to our club when you spoke about organ donation also.
Right.
And, your interaction with the Rotarians today has been very, very important on a very important subject. And I think you have done full justice in explaining the Nobel Award as well as hepatitis C, and hope things will get better. And let's hope. I saw one line about your positive news about the current COVID situation. So let's hope this also gets over soon.
Right.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of all retainers of my club, I would like to thank you for your generous talk. And once again, my interaction with you about 6 years ago, I would like to thank you for that also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, each one of you.
And
thanks for inviting me.
Chawla, we are all grateful to chimpanzee also, which has helped us to discover.
Yes. Chimpanzees have helped us. Very true.
Dr. Saab, I was off because of the battery problem. Thank you so much. Wow. Such a pleasure.
Pleasure seeing you after many years, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Lovely. I'll take your leave, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We we also thank our the visitors for today, like Professor Kant, Professor Dr. Dharamveer, who is the author of H.S. Arora, Ananjali Arora, and Professor from all these people. Thank you very much.
So I would like to invite our Secretary Shri for the birthdays, anniversaries, and other announcements. We have a few other doctors also attending, Colonel Kapoor, and all. Would they like to add anything? I think Shuchi is just having some connection issue while she joins back. Dr. Rita, you'll have to unmute yourself, Dr. Rita.
So the presentation was very complete. He's a master in his subject, and we have been hearing him so often, and it's nice to hear that it is on decline, hepatitis B and C.
Colonel Kapoor there, he wants to add something. I think he's left. Shuchi, are you back? Are you connected now?
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. So, Shuchi, I invite you now for making the announcements on the birthdays and anniversaries that fall this week.
Right. Thank you, President Sanjay. We have two announcements today. Number one, the elections shall be held on 25th of December, which is coming Friday. And coming Friday's meeting is going to be a fun-filled activity. We have Rotarians kids coming and performing. Please join us. It's going to be fun. It's Christmas as well. And you can bring in, if you want to dress like kids and perform, you're most welcome, because many of us are just, old in number, but not by heart. So that's it. And coming to birthdays and anniversaries, again, my screen is hanging for some reason. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so we have the birthdays of Nitin Mathur on 23rd December, Ravinder Krishnji 24th December, shared by Rotarian Vinod Sopti ji on 24th December. We also have birthdays of Rotary and Dr. Manjushri Sharma on 19th December and Rotary and Neeta Munjal on 23rd December. We have the wedding anniversary of our very own Rotary and Manisha and Dr. Rohit Sani on 24th December. That brings me to the end of the announcements. Back to you, President Sanjay.
Thank you.
Crisp talk.
Thank you. So nice to know about the announcement for next Friday. I only hope that the kids are aware about it. The last time we had them was around Teachers' Day in September, I think, because Diwali and Children's Day coincided. So,
so can we bring our grandchildren also on the show?
Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, everyone. Yes. The more the merrier.